Start.
So a very warm welcome to this webinar, and it's a discussion, knowing the best of you. And my name is Sarah, and today we have with us Dr. Prashant Kakoday, and I'm going to discuss this subject and also hear from you as well with any of your questions. Now this title, we can see that it's broad. I was just feeling this word best. There's such a satisfaction when we do the best. We feel our sense of potential, and it sometimes needs tempering though. So I feel for myself when I discovered meditation, there's something became balanced, because this can also become an obsession to be pushing oneself to do one's best. And so that was a great relief for me when I discovered that there's something within which actually can nurture and maybe help us fulfill our best. But I'd like to hear what Prashant's view is on this topic, and what does it mean to you?
It's nice you said doing our best, and this is what most of the world might be emphasizing. But another aspect in this is discovering our best. That is another aspect of the whole thing. And within us, as if there is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And there is Mr. Hyde that is doing its best, and trying to. But there is also Dr. Jekyll there, and it might be unnoticed because Mr. Hyde may be dominant. The pleasant form of Mr. Hyde is very deceptive. Mr. Hyde is not just a bad person, but most of the time Mr. Hyde can be very pleasant and talking with pleasantries and smile, but underneath there is selfishness and there is something negative underneath. Dr. Jekyll is clean inside out. And that is the whole spirituality, what it emphasizes is we have to discover that side of us, experience it, and then you are the best from inside out. Then whatever actions that are performed, they will always come from that seed that is the best.
I mean, I can definitely relate to what you're saying, and it's only really because I had a quite powerful experience when I started meditation, that there's something within which is already achieved, as if, and it meant I didn't have to prove anything, and it was in such contrast to everything else, which was a constant striving, and I could feel that inside there was that peacelessness. So I guess this is that Hyde personality, where how can you truly be selfless if inside the motivation is to get some kind of peace, or you're based on everything exterior, and it's all conditional based on the results. So I can relate to that. What I feel is people may think is, how do I even attempt to discover it? Because most of the time in our busy lives we have lots of demands. How is it that I can actually discover this clean? It sounds very deep, very profound. Do I need to sort of take a year off to do that, away from distractions?
Yeah, the one aspect here, is to have a comparative, understanding, and then it becomes fun. So we don't need to take a year off, but whilst life is going on, we have option to invest at another level, just to create time to nurture another side of us. And so in this comparative understanding, this understanding is there in philosophy, in spirituality. There are different levels of consciousness, like the dog he will be a dog, and his attractions and behaviors, and it will be the dog. Then there is a donkey. Donkey will behave like a donkey. Donkey wants grass, and donkey will have a certain pattern of dislikes and likes. You can't make a donkey into a dog. A donkey will remain a donkey. Maybe a slightly, gentle donkey, but donkey. And dog will be a dog. And then there are what we consider the consciousness of the human. And even our psychology, accepts that what we consider as a human consciousness is full of complexities. To start with, selfish and people like Freud and even Kant, they don't give a great verdict about human beings. They say human beings are aggressive and human beings are for lust and greedy, and that's what we see in the world around. That human beings like gossip, human beings can be angry people, and slightest provocation they will behave in a certain way. That is the package that comes with that consciousness, and we cannot change too much. This is what even the psychology will accept, that we cannot change too much here, because this is the way they are hardwired. But there is a but. There is another level of consciousness, and the spiritual university says that that is normal for us. We can call it the angelic consciousness. And we have fallen from that angelic consciousness to another lower level. So we are angel beings. At present, we are experiencing that human being consciousness. What happens with this angel being? They know they are immortal. So when there is that absolute immortality underneath, they remain selfless. There is not that constant, the, some kind of insecurity going on, how to survive. Whereas at the human consciousness level, they are whole life they are worried about death. They're mortals. That means they're thinking about mortality. They may be immortal, but that consciousness it has got constant concern about their death. And that's what makes them greedy and creates attachment and angry and the behavior that we see. Um, so we have option to spend our whole life at that level of consciousness, but we have also the option to nourish the higher consciousness. Here the word angel is very accurate, because angel is secure, because he knows he's immortal. He's clean inside out. He doesn't need to be playing games, manipulative. He's out of that. He can be. He has no fear of death. That is what frees him. So his love is authentic. His peace is authentic. His interaction is authentic. His respect is authentic. He also knows this is another thing that happens. At that consciousness, he knows everyone else is like this. Clean, worthy of greatest respect, the greatest love. So he tends to bring others also to that higher level. And in that sense, that is the best. There can't be anything higher than this. Who can have a higher quality of life than one who has such a mind? There can't be anything higher. But that mind is also something that brings out the best for the world. At a very minimum level, there is no hope for this world at this human consciousness. Everyone is like a parasite. We will end. You just need one person with that kind of mind. We can destroy this planet. But this mind, there is no hope. But you you invest at that higher consciousness, then there is a hope. But what we are seeing is not just hope. We create a different world altogether. Paradise. That consciousness will create heaven. Um, world, outer world can be the same, but they will create heaven in their because of their minds.
So you said a lot, and it reminds me of a story you also gave about a surgeon. In fact, I think it was in your experience when you were training in surgery, and you saw that there was a clot, and you tried to make sure the bleeding would stop, and then the senior surgeon came and said, "No, you need to get rid of all that," and all the bleeding started, but to get to the root. And so I think the important word you said was hope, because a lot of what you said, many people may feel, well, a little bit hopeless because you're saying we're hardwired. It's like a little bit of it holds you in that space. But because in a way, maybe we create a lot of false hope. But if you're saying that the hope is really a shift,
Yes.
then that's something completely different. And I wonder, because new area in science is positive psychology, relatively recently, people are actually seeing that there are you can actually see a difference in people when they practice something like gratitude. But within that, it seems to not have context. So within what you're saying is that angelic consciousness. Are you saying that we're starting to try to understand that even in positive psychology, are they sort of talking about a mind that can be naturally grateful?
What happens is just like a donkey. He wants grass. It can be short grass, it can be long grass, but he wants grass. Maybe no grass on Tuesday, but he wants grass on Wednesday. In the same way, human beings, because of that package that comes with that consciousness, they they are the tempted to behave at that level. And that's why people, in spite of all this amazing spiritual literature around and religions trying to tell us, we find we fail. Even very senior people in different religions, they find they can't maintain and stay with the principles that they know are true. They teach others, because at that consciousness, it is like you are working against a brick wall, trying to achieve that is impossible. But as you said, there is a hope. We have to go by the right method. Human being, we can leave it there, just like donkey. I'm not trying to change the donkey. I'm not trying to change the human being. But let us understand the shift consciousness itself. It is like a different species and a different creature, and discover what this consciousness is. Create time for this. Know this person of light. That is what we are, and we are souls, and the soul is immortal. Now let me start from that position. If someone is immortal, what will be his feelings and what will be his thoughts and what is important for him? Will he behave in the same way as ordinary mortal? So you are seeing in a different way now, and that nourishes and, as if to start with, activates that consciousness, and we just have to feed that and make it more dominant.
I know a very important part of your practice, Prashant, is not using the letter I, and I think that I know sometimes that can be quite hard, especially for some who've actually been on a spiritual path for a while. And I suppose what you're saying is so clear in the sense that it's an absolute separation. And if we try to improve the role and try to make that spiritual, and or it can easily get mixed up when I use the letter I. To that angelic consciousness, then in a way, part of me will never really be able to fully do that, because part of me knows that you were saying the example of grass, that there is that tendency to not be able to be the best somehow. There's some limitation, or the language is I'm working towards something, but what you're saying is like a shift. It's like a different paradigm. So it would be nice to understand, for those who are grasping, would like to practice this, a bit about that, but also the acknowledgement of very subtle realizations. I know it's another point I think it's worth to understand. is to really these micro experiences and how to understand that better.
Yeah. If there is a idea of evolution, this is like a true evolution. It is not evolution at the level of the physical, that is not, but you know, it is like a shift and a jump, and we can do this. And this micro experience, this is a nice word. We can create minutes and uh, and seconds to know this consciousness. Shall we create some time to experiment with this in the practice? Wherever we are, we are just experimenting with a different perspective. We are seeing the perspective of someone who is immortal. And his understanding, rightly or wrongly, is that this whole physical world is like a drama performance, and he has no interest, no attachments in this drama performance. That is his perspective. He is watching it, he is aware of it, but he has no attachments. He's not intending to get trapped in this. This is all. This is the perspective. Once he has this perspective, he is free from any desires and preferences and disappointments because of this physical dimension. He is very much aware of his world beyond, very interested in his sky. That is his perspective. He knows his family also stars. He knows his world is immortal, his people are immortal, he is immortal. And at a deep level, carefree. He's involved here, but he's carefree. His attitude is more to reach his people, people of light, visiting souls who are in this world. He loves them. That is where his relationships are. He knows they belong to him. And this bond of love doesn't change because of the drama. He's not constantly thinking of or judging people based on the drama. Drama is a performance, but he is aware of the visiting souls who are associated with the drama. Because of this, his whole state is naturally the best. He has peace, he has contentment, immense love, freedom. He feels everything is good. The performance, drama, he feels it's a great variety drama. Everything is good. The sky is, it is his eternal home, and everyone is good. That is what leads to that silent bliss, bliss of the soul. This is what we were seeing in that authenticity, that authentic peace, authentic love. Every aspect of his world, including himself, is subtle, but for him that is normal. All that we have done now in the last minute or longer is seen that perspective, attempt to get a grasp of that consciousness, seeing a different different species altogether. That's what we call angelic perspective, angel beings.
And very much feels that when one has discovered this, a glimpse of this consciousness, that's very much for everyone, isn't it? Because ordinarily we may be working for, there's an agenda for our own becoming the best, but something very, very unlimited. If someone has achieved the best because of a skill that they've honed, or maybe the wealth that they have, you can admire it, but you never feel that it's something that you feel the difference. But somehow when it's a spiritual best in that atmosphere, in that company, it's also almost like you are brought to that level. So it's something very beautiful aspect.
What happens all along is in that consciousness you are seeing in this down below, but the pull of the lower consciousness constantly is like it is a dominant one, that human consciousness, and it wants to bring everything at the human level. So it is not the word angel. That is not.
It's not like a magic word.
It's not. It can be, anyone can use this word. And angelic consciousness, that word anyone can use. And in this human level, we can just put a label on top, angel, this kind of thing. But our aim is to grasp this, even for seconds, grasp that new, totally the different perspective. The the criteria, the litmus test for this, the higher perspective, higher consciousness, it is detached from everything of the physical, including body and Prashant. So that's why you mentioned earlier avoiding the letter I, that kind of some attention there. And the reason the letter I is used so much at a very gross level, and we cannot use the same letter I for something that is totally different. So to use an objective language, that is very useful in this case. So perspective of the soul, perspective of complete freedom, detachment from the drama, and then it is possible to grasp that clean perspective, not mixed with the ego and not mixed with that human. Just like if there is a glass of milk and you put one drop of poison, it spoils the whole milk. In the same way, in this consciousness, you mix it with a little bit of ego, then you get ego. It brings everything comes to the human level with some kind of a, some language. It is mixed. So we have the option, seconds, minutes, to taste that unmixed, clean.
we may as well know what we're working with and not because I feel sometimes it's possible to be distracted on a superficial level and try to perfect and the analogy used of the donkey, and try to make the donkey spiritual or make the role good. And I think that that can be quite a deception and it can be quite subtle. So we may as well know what we're working with. And my feeling is from what you've shared, it's of great power. And so even this is why this important aspect of just these glimpses, these moments. And I think maybe it's important for the self to acknowledge that, maybe by writing it down or some, so you build on it and, and come back to it and also have a chance to discuss and share with others because we need the support of others who are seeing this as important because it affects absolutely everything else in life. And if we are not so distracted with trying to become the best in the outer world, those things I think carry on as they are. It's not like you say you have to step out of it. You can continue, but something parallel can be working, and it's something beautiful and authentic can emerge. So, yes.
But anything that is best, it can't be complete without God. And this is another big treasure that follows at a human consciousness, at human level. We can talk about God, but that consciousness cannot experience God. Just like at a donkey level, there are certain things donkey cannot relate to something that is at another level. But at that angel consciousness level, it can relate. Not only relate, it knows it is loved by God, it belongs to God, it is from that level, from that world, knows God, and that consciousness reflects, and that is like another big, you know, gift at that level, and starts with seconds, but at a real level, God, the word, He works at that level. His task is to help us bring to that level. He sees the angel. He pays attention to that. He supports it. And if we want to move at that level, you are straight in line with God's task. And you are, he he will be in line to help you also.
Question: can you describe the experience of God you have?
In this state, that we were talking about, the higher consciousness, God is in that space where there is total security himself, and because he is secure, he stays in that best, his experience of bliss and peace and contentment, but and love. But different from any other consciousness, he wants to help each one, and in this case, the soul, us, me, to experience our own best, to come to that highest and the best. So he is wonderful, but he plays that part. He loves, but it is not just love, and he's there and I'm here in my own. But the expression of his love is that direct involvement to help me discover that highest consciousness and highest me, the best within me.
So thank you so much for attending, and I'm sure there'll be further webinars and taking some of these subjects further. And looking forward to connect next time. And thank you to Dr. Prashant for joining today.
It's a pleasure.